Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's second video. So I've already done the weekend forecast, which you can find the video to here on the homepage. Just scroll down a little bit underneath the link ads and the weekend forecast video will be there. There's also the written version, which you can get to by clicking the button at the top of the page that says written forecast. This is the CFS 6 months look ahead, and we're going to be going ahead 6 months, as the name of the video implies, which takes us, can you believe, from June through to November. So going towards the end of the year with this update. Now, of course, as you always say, the CFS 6 month look ahead is just for fun, as is Can Sit Sunday, where we go 6 months ahead with the Canadian model as well. It's just for fun. It's not to be relied upon. The charts are there, so we might as well use them. But it is a serious point. I try to make a bit of a joke of it, but it is a serious point that we're going 6 months ahead with one model. There's not a great deal of scientific merit in doing that. Okay, 1-2 months away, that's in a reliable part of the model, and that's fair enough. But as you go to 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it's in the realm of just for fun. It's a snapshot, really, of what the model is saying when we're doing the update in May 2016. So it's a snapshot for what model is predicting for this month, for 6 months ahead. But, of course, it could all look very, very different as we get through to next month. So all the caveats aside, we'll get on with the update in a second. Last month's update in April was really quite a difficult one. I'm not sure if you remember it, but there's a lot of uncertainty associated with that update. And I had a bit of a job, really, to work out exactly what the model was trying to do a lot of the time. So it left me scratching my head a little bit. We'll see whether the runes have cleared for May's May 2016's CFS 6 month look ahead. I'll get on with it in a second. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all of the pages at Gadget's. Have a browse through widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that are interesting. Thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads on most of the pages. They open out the content when you watch them, then close back up again. It does help to pay for Gadget's.com. So thanks so much for getting involved. And thanks for doing that. Right, I'm going to get on with it. We're going to start off with the 700 millibar height dominance for the next 6 months. Then we'll have a look at the corresponding temperature and then the corresponding precipitation anomalies that go with that. So we're going to start off in June. This is how CFS V2 is seen next month. Now, of course, this is just 1 month away, so in theory, this should be the most reliable part of all of this. But it's a bit difficult to decipher again what the model is doing. We've got a bit of yellow here towards Scandinavia, so obviously there's some sort of above average heights or some sort of ridging to the northeast of the country. Also looks like some sort of ridging around the south of Greenland and down towards Newfoundland, but otherwise not a great deal to work with. I think the jet stream is probably coming through the country a bit like that, but it's not a particularly weak jet stream, probably just average conditions. So very, very difficult again to work out quite what model is doing. We've seen a lot of this, well, we saw a lot of this last month when we did April's update. There was a lot of sort of flabbiness, a lot of white, and not really sure what was going on, and we see that for June. So already you start in month 1 and the signals do look to be fairly weak. Month 2 in July, that also looks very, very weak signal. What is going on there? We've got some sort of ridge around Newfoundland on the forecast, so I should be asking you what's going on. But again, it does leave me scratching my head a little bit. There's all of this white through the Atlantic here and over into Europe here. All of this white and just not very much to work with. So I am scratching my head a bit, but I think probably bringing a jet stream through, as there's no real sign of ridging. I suppose that's the key point. In summer, you'd expect to see above average height, you'd expect to see high pressure somewhere, and not much sign of it. So I would think there's probably some sort of a trough round Western Europe somewhere, and probably bringing the jet stream through. But again, very, very little to work on in that one. Now, you get through to August, 3 months away, you would think get to 3 months and the signal would be weakening. Actually, we've got a slightly stronger signal for August. Doesn't necessarily mean that the signal is right, of course, but got more to work with anyway. And what we see for August is that we've got an area of below average height sitting just to the west. So there's a trough of low pressure around and to the west of the UK. There's a ridge over towards Scandinavia as well. So I think the jet stream's coming through the country like that, meeting the ridge and going north. And again, you can see it over here, jet stream through the country, then goes north around that ridge. So potentially this is a more unsettled signal for August. I'm not saying that June and July aren't unsettled either. We'll be able to see that with the temperature and precipitation anomalies. But certainly for August, we have got a signal, we have got something to work with, and it's an unsettled one with a trough, albeit quite a weak trough, but a trough through the UK with the jet stream. I think that's a pretty unsettled month being shown up in August. For September, 4 months away now, so we are in the realm of just for fun, but September places a ridge of above average height, so some sort of area of high pressure to the northeast of the country. The trough is backing off towards Greenland. That's potentially quite a nice month, I think, in September. Quite a nice start to the autumn. We'd be sending the jet stream up, something like that, and potentially bringing easterly flows through the country. What we'd have to watch out for, of course, is taking the jet stream and the low pressure underneath that ridge, doing something like that. And if we did that, it could be more unsettled, especially for the south. But overall, I don't think that's too bad a signal in September. And then October looks like this, building a ridge of above average heights here to the south of the country. Trough of low pressure is deepening to the north. Again, that could be quite a dry month in October and very pleasant with the jet stream going northwards into that sort of position. I think that's a pretty decent month again as we get through into October. 5 months away though, so not to be relied upon. And then finally, just for fun, this is how we're looking in 6 months' time in November. The ridge is still there to the south, but it is moving further south, and the trough is deepening around Greenland and Iceland, so the jet stream's coming through the country like that. That's an unsettled looking signal for November. It's also very westerly, so it could be stormy, but it's probably pretty mild actually. I would think the flow is coming directly off the Atlantic, so it's a classic westerly November, and will be mild with those Atlantic winds moving in. Right, let's have a look at the temperatures that go with this, and we'll start off by having a look at June. So this is the temperature anomaly for June. Now, of course, this is just 1 month away, so as I say, this should be the more reliable part of all of this. But as with the 700 millibar height anomalies, the temperature anomaly, again, not really very much at all to work with here. We can see that obviously we've got above average temperatures through Scandinavia, but otherwise, what is going on there? Above average temperatures for Iceland as well. But generally, most of Europe is just around average. And again, there's nothing that we can work with. All we can say is that the temperature signal for June is average. There's no sign of anything particularly warm there, no sign of anything particularly cold either. That continues into July as well. So June and July, both very, very difficult months to pin down here. And if anything in July, I suppose we're possibly erring a little bit on the cooler side, given there's a splodge of blue there across the UK, and a few splodges of blue across France, and some across Germany and Denmark as well. But really, again, there's nothing really to work on in terms of the temperature signal. It looks about average for June and July. But is it average, or is it just that the model hasn't yet got a pattern for these 2 months? We'll have a look at the precipitation in a moment and see whether they shed any light on what's likely to happen in June and July. This continues into August as well, so again, no real temperature signal there through most of August. Very, very difficult summer to forecast this in terms of what the CFS V2 is doing. September, it just goes on. So look at all of this white. According to the CFS V2, in September, we're going to have average temperatures from Ireland and Portugal over here to central Russia, which is over here. Now, it's very hard to believe that. And I think it's just that the signals are so very, very weak again this month, as they were last month, and quite why this is happening, I'm not sure. It might be to do with what's happening in the Equatorial Pacific in terms of whether we're going to go to La Nina or stay at ENSO neutral. Because of that, could be throwing everything else that the model is doing into a state of turmoil, into a state of crisis. So CFS V2 could be having a bit of a nervous breakdown. I'm not sure if it is or not. But that looks very unbelievable as a chart, that the whole of Europe, from Ireland, Portugal, and west to central Russia, is going to be about average. I don't believe it. And I think it's just that model has got a very weak signal. For October, you will think this would be a warmer than average month in October, because remember, it's very ridgy in terms of what 700 millibar heights are doing. They're being placed very close to the country. You'd think it's going to be quite a lot of warm and dry weather in October again. Signal looks very weak. Little bit above average for Scotland. Scandinavia with a strong signal for being above average, as is Iceland. But again, most parts of Europe, the signal does look very weak. And then we get through to September and to November, sorry, and look at this. The signal suddenly gets very, very strong, and it's a strong signal for above average temperatures. And that's because we're strengthening the jet stream, moving it through the UK from the Atlantic. We've got a big ridge down here and low pressure just here. So it's Atlantic driven, it's westerly, could be gales, about heavy rain, but the temperature signal is strongly favouring above average. That is 6 months away, and although it's the strongest temperature signal that we've got throughout all of this update, the one that's 6 months away is the strongest signal in terms of the colours, it's not to be relied upon. That could be very, very wrong, because I can't say it again, but it is 6 months away. Let's just have a look at the precipitation anomalies, see whether they shed any light on what's going on. So this is how June is shaping up, and maybe this is a little bit more of a signal now. We get to June with the precipitation, and generally most of northern and western Europe hinting at being a bit wetter than average. So we've finally got a bit of a signal for June, which is for a fairly unsettled month, and presumably we're bringing a weak trough and the jet stream through the UK to be producing that sort of slightly above average signal for the precipitation. So there's no real sign of it in terms of 700 millibar heights. There's no real sign of it in terms of the temperature anomaly, but the precipitation probably hinting at a rather unsettled month, which of course could be relatively cool. Now that switches around as we get through into July. Remember, for July there was no signal for the no signal for the heights either, but we're going a little bit drier than average by the look of it across the northwest of Europe in July. So there wasn't any sign of it on the 700 millibar height anomalies, but I would think the jet stream is being pushed a bit to the north, rather like that, and possibly building some sort of ridge close to the northwest of Europe. I am reaching there because we didn't see it on the 700 millibar height anomaly, but that perhaps is what model wants to do in July. August, we placed that trough just out to west. It was quite a strong signal, so a more unsettled month in August with the jet stream moving through the country, a bit like that. You have to say that overall there's no sign of a really good summer here. Whilst there's no sign of a terrible summer, there's also no sign of a really good summer. So probably a fairly average UK summer, which an average UK summer would be quite changeable, is the signal that we're seeing from the CFS V2. And August does probably hint at being a bit wetter than average, especially in the north and west. Get through September, 4 months away now, so it's just the thumb, but September looks a little bit drier in the south, a little bit wetter up in the north. Quite surprised at that, because we've got a ridge sitting just here, but I did say the jet stream could be undercutting that a little bit. But if that's the case, you'd expect the south to be wetter and the north to be drier, so again, quite what models tried to do there, not sure. October, fairly weak signal, but probably hinting at being drier than average across many parts of Europe in October. That's because we've got all of that ridging through here and over towards here, with the jet stream going up towards there in October. And then finally we get through into November, just for fun, 6 months away, but we're bringing the jet stream through the country in September, so it's a westerly month. It's also quite a wet month being indicated here, with many parts of northern and western Europe coming out wetter than average. So what do we make of that lot? Well, I have to say the signals for the summer is quite weak. Somewhere in there, there's perhaps a better month in July. June looks a bit dodgy, but it's a very weak signal. And then probably the worst of it is August, which does look quite unsettled, because the heights finally show up an anomaly, which is below average heights just to the west of us. So it's quite an unsettled month in August. Temperatures don't look desperately cool, but you would expect it to be a bit cooler than average and probably wetter than average as well. That's what the model indicates for August. As far as the first 2 summer months are concerned, there's not really enough to work with, but June may be close to average, July may be a bit better, and then the autumn months, which are in the unreliable part of all of this, they look fairly changeable, probably quite dry for September, October. I mean, a lot wetter, but very mild in November, but that is just for fun. So we're not quite in get behind the sage long territory yet for September. And of course, next month's CFS 6 months look ahead, one that we do in June, that is going to take us to December. So already we'll be able to start thinking just a little bit about winter. Right, that's it for now. It's all just for fun. Don't worry about any of it, really. I'm going to go and have a lie down in a dark room, because it's all left me very, very puzzled. So that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching, and come back tomorrow when we'll have a look at part 2 of James's analogues for the summer. So come back for that tomorrow. That's all now. Thanks for watching.